And we are live here on the Flat 5 podcast with my good friend Taylor Simpson. How's it going, buddy?
What's up, man?
Dude, fucking
What's up, dude?
thank you for coming, man. It's
we
amazing.
made it happen. I'm
Fellow
here.
podcaster being interviewed on a podcast.
I know.
We're gonna trade off. I'm gonna come back on yours. You're gonna be over here.
Exactly.
We're gonna be solid. So, I wonder if the microphones are gonna pick up this rain,
Beautiful
thunder
rain
ambiance that we
ambiance we
have.
have
As
going.
you said so eloquently, the ambiance.
The ambiance.
We're certainly going to talk about the new music that you have coming out, the new song that you released.
Cool.
But one of the things I'm actually curious about is your tattoos.
Oh, okay.
And as we arrived here today and we were setting up and getting everything ready for this episode, I was like, there's so many questions I want to ask you as we're talking, but I'm like, I got to save this for the pod.
Save some of them for the
Save some of them for the pod. So tell me about your tattoos and when you got your first tattoo and what is your first tattoo?
Sure, okay. So my first tattoo is this one here of the tree.
Nice.
It's my family's family crest.
Nice.
Scottish family crest. And then it has the words "Hope never loses us," which is like a lyric from a band that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But they were called the Color Morale, and they were like a band.
Get out of town, dude! I met those dudes.
Garrett,
Steve, and the other three guys.
and the other three.
The dude. I'm so sorry. Dude,
Yeah.
I can't believe you're a fan of the Color Morale.
Dude.
Oh my God, you have the anchor.
Yeah. I guess
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I love the Color Morale.
Real recognizes real,
Wow,
man. He's
there
a
you
goalie.
go on the pod.
I'm a goalie, podcaster, Color Morale.
It just keeps adding
Did you
up.
go to their show at the Hard Luck when they had hands?
did.
I was at that show.
No.
Okay, do you remember the kid that yelled into the microphone? Do you remember when
What
he
did he
was
yell
like
again?
deeply faded? I was that fucking kid, bro. That was me.
You were that
That was me, bro.
Bro.
I was the kid that was going
Holy
way too
shit.
crazy.
I love that for you.
That's so amazing, bro.
Dude, so we crossed paths.
We
before.
crossed paths. Damn. It wasn't hockey.
Wow.
It was hardcore
What a
shows.
great moment that happened.
Yeah,
I'm glad we saved this for the episode.
Dude,
not
yeah.
earlier.
That's so true. That's amazing.
sick,
I
dude.
want to come back to the Color Morale in a bit, but tell me more about the tattoos that you got.
Yeah. So the first tattoo was that, and I was 16, I think, when I got my first tattoo.
Nice.
Yeah, as soon as I could get tattoos.
As
I
soon
was
as you're
like,
allowed.
I'm
I was the
getting
same way.
tattoos. Like
Same
as soon as I
way.
didn't have to forge my aunt's signature for anything, I was like, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was not very happy about it, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that was my first one, and I've just been hooked ever since, man.
Absolutely.
And like my mythology. What is that word I'm looking for?
Methodology.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it. Off camera.
Oh yeah.
He
Shout out
saved
to
me
Leo over there. Woo woo.
What's that, Leo? Yes, my methodology behind tattoos is that like they have to mean something super important to me. I know that sounds cliche because that's what everyone does, obviously.
Right,
but for
right.
me, it's like it has to have strong ties to something I really believe in that I
Yeah.
can look back at in like 50 years and be like, I'm glad I still got this tattoo.
Yes.
Right?
Very
Like,
smart.
I want to think ahead of time rather than like getting
Only
it for
think
the
about the
moment
now.
and then like,
Yeah, absolutely.
regretting it later, right? So
For sure.
it's taken a long time to get all of these tattoos. Like
Yeah.
of course, I'm 29 now, right? So
Right,
it's
right.
First, I was 16, so I've gotten them periodically throughout my life. But
Yeah.
this whole sleeve I have on my left arm is all, very deep stuff that I really believe in, and
Very nice.
like whether it's family losses or my beliefs or whatever, or
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
bands that have touched me in a way.
Yeah.
you know.
That I have a Slipknot tattoo that stays sick. And I remember when I was like, how old are you in grade 9? I would have been like, no, it would have been before
14,
grade.
13?
Yeah, I would have been like 13, but it would have been like before grade 9. But yeah, I would have been like 13. My drum teacher, his name is Dario. Actually, his music school is just down the street over there. Shout out to Dario.
Shout out Dario. We know you're watching.
Yes, he's goated. He put me on Slipknot.
Okay.
And he put me on Slipknot in the best way possible as a musician at that age who was only listening to like U2 and Led Zeppelin and shit.
Yeah.
And he just played Before I Forget.
Oof.
And he didn't show me how the band looked. And he just played the song. And I was like... And for Slipknot songs, you can go to Iowa and there's like crazy heavy shit.
Man.
And you can get some even sadder stuff at that time. We're talking 2012, 2013, right? And he played the perfect song that was the right amount of like heavy moments, melodic moments, and groove moments. You know, where I'm like,
it's a good
fuck.
like introductory song to
So
a
it's-
band like
oh
Slipknot,
man,
right?
and
So-
I was like, I loved it, and then I just fell down deep
Rabbit
Alice
hole.
in Wonderland rabbit hole of Slipknot. Like, just fell in
Love
love
it.
with them. And Stay Sick always stuck with me because it was like, Stay Sick was like the most simplest way to say being yourself without say be yourself. Because to me, when someone says, "Oh, just be yourself," it's like, well, what if I'm not happy with who I am today?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, you're just telling me to continue to be in this world that I'm not accepting of. You know, Stay Sick. It was very much like, despite all the shit that's going on around you or internally, like never lose hope. Never stop fighting. Like always maintain tenacity.
Hope never loses us.
Have no hope. Exactly right. And you know, there's always moments where people question like hope, or they question faith, or they, you know, I'm not saying religiously. Like, I'm just saying in general,
Sure.
right? And
Faith
I
in
just
yourself.
exactly. And I just found the way that they said the word sick was almost like in a very like powerful way. You
Yeah,
know, like that's
for
kind of
sure.
how it felt, right?
Yeah,
so
stay
I
sick.
resonate with that.
Stay
Like,
true to
stay
who
fucking
you want to be.
Stay sacked, dude.
Stay
You
sick,
know?
bro.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I was like, it's the coolest thing. But it's so cool that you have that because, like, I'm a big fan of like joke tattoos, but like only on other people. Because like
Same.
wouldn't get. I don't know if I'd ever get Homer Simpson like, you know, on my butt cheek or whatever, or like the inside of my thigh. Like I don't want to be, you know, at a urinal and then Homer's just like, hi, and I'm like, damn, that's kind of weird, you know.
I think for me, it's like, I think like up here, I guess I want to like make it presentable for myself and like
Right.
cherish it. I think my legs are kind of like just a, you know,
Just
can I
legs.
swear on the pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, just whatever the fuck I want down
Yes.
here.
Thank you
know?
for asking.
Yeah,
That's
of
such a
course.
genuine thing to ask.
Well, being a podcast,
Being a
myself,
podcaster, you know,
like, I have to ask
exactly.
these
Yeah.
questions, so,
Shout out to A Mental Break. Everybody go check out that
thank you,
podcast.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as you were saying,
But yeah, so my friend and I, his name is Kirk. Shout out Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I have a matching tattoo together.
nice.
We have this one, and for every 5 to 10 years, I can't remember what we agreed to, that we're friends.
Yeah.
We get another one,
Nice.
and we'll keep getting them as long as we're friends.
Yes, absolutely.
So our next one is due, I think, this year. I think.
Oh
I
wow.
think we just hit another 10 years.
What year were you first friends?
We were first friends in. Sorry, I guess it'd be 5 years. We were friends in middle school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be another 5 years, I think. I can't remember what the rule we made was. But
Yeah.
I know that this year's
There's a metric, but
there's
that's cool,
something,
man.
but
That's
this
really
year's
admirable.
the one that we're getting. So
Yeah.
I think what we have planned is getting like a penguin, like a cartoon penguin,
Nice.
holding an ice cream sandwich, wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, that's rad. That's so rad. You know what's
Yeah.
funny? Benedict Cumberbatch. Is it patch or batch?
Batch.
They're basically the same word.
Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch. But every time, like it's like imprinted in my brain. Every time I hear someone say the word penguin, I immediately think
Oh,
of
the
his
fucking skit.
the
Penguin.
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 And it's like he's like recording for like Discovery Channel or something, and he's like, as you can see here, a penguin in the, and he's like penguin, and I'm like, it's just so
He has
funny.
such a hard time saying it. It's
And
like,
and then
penguin.
they air it, and I'm like, I just can't get that out of my head. And it's with what's the guy's name? Graham Norton. Is the
Yes,
guy,
yeah,
that
yeah,
dude,
Graham
which is
Norton, yeah.
great. Shout out to Facebook, like videos.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but Facebook has better long form videos than other, almost like medium form videos.
Yeah, medium.
Like I
form.
need the short ones on TikTok.
YouTube's the best long term.
YouTube is the best. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Medium. I was like long. I'm like but YouTube has like 2 hours worth of shit.
Yeah, it's
you know?
give me more. I love
Exactly
YouTube.
right. But so
But dude, thanks for asking about the tattoos.
of course, man.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it,
it
man.
always
It's
piqued my
been really
curiosity.
important to me, obviously, as you
Yeah.
can see. So,
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the color morale, dude.
dude,
That's so wild. Like
yeah,
I remember in high school, probably around the same time, probably got into Warped Tour because of like listening to Slipknot. Like I remember like watching the Vermilion music video and like everything off of All Hope Is Gone and shit. And then like, you know, what was the Of Mice and Men record that came out? It's got the song You're Not Alone. Restoring Force. So that album,
yes.
like getting into all that and seeing that and like, you know,
is that the one with the conch shell thing on the
Yes.
cover? Yeah. Okay.
actually.
Self-titled one, yeah.
I honestly, everything until the song Pain. Maybe I just only like Austin Carlisle. But they have a song called Pain that I was a fan of too. But yeah, so like going down that Warped Tour Rabbit Hole,
the
you
best.
know, like Of Mice and Men, Memphis Mayfire,
Attack Attack.
Beartooth, Attack and shit. Like
Yeah.
Attack has a wild story. You like
know, man.
members of Attack, like Caleb,
Austin
Carlisle,
Carlisle,
right?
Yeah, Austin Carlisle.
Like Caleb Shomo, yeah,
now
from
Beartooth.
Beartooth, right? Like all those guys have gone on to do stuff.
Johnny,
Actually,
or what's his name? Not Johnny Craig.
Johnny Craig was
Johnny Craig's Dance Gavin Dance.
yeah.
But no, the guy from Attack, the clean singer. With the
Oh
curly hair.
man, what's his name? Young Jamie.
His name
Hook
is.
us up, buddy. Jamie,
Isn't
if you could
his
just
name
pull that
John
up, please.
something Too? He's got this band called Bill Murray now.
Oh, that's him?
That's him, dude.
Bro, what?
Yeah, that's
Attack
yeah.
is just
Bill
like
Murray
a
is the
umbrella
guy from
treat.
Attack. Yeah.
Wow. What a great band name too.
They just split off and did like
And just-
everything awesome.
Yeah, everything is
Did you
awesome.
hear that Attack's back now though?
No.
With like with the remaining members?
Really?
Yeah, it's not
Wow.
good.
It's not good?
Sorry, hot take.
True. I haven't. I didn't even know.
Yeah,
so
it's
I can
okay.
kind of see that though.
It's
I mean,
okay.
there's some times where you kind of just.
I mean, you're
lose.
missing Caleb, you're missing Johnny, like
Yeah, you know. It's hilarious how Caleb was like the keys
Johnny
player.
Frank.
There you go.
Johnny Frank.
Damn. But yeah, they're wild. And like I was going through, you know, that whole Warped Tour rabbit hole. And then
Silverstein too. Gotta throw that out there.
yes. You know what? I know you're a big fan.
Sorry. I'm a massive fan.
I listened to them growing up as a kid, and it just wasn't clicking with me. I have yet to like, and that's why I've been waiting. I'm like, it's a maturity thing. I
will
haven't
turn you.
listened.
I will
Yes,
turn you.
I will be a Silverstein fan. Well, of course, respect them without a doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how can you not,
They've been
especially
in
as a
the game
musician?
forever now.
Like,
So.
you know, they're definitely goated. It's just at that time I was like, there's something that isn't clicking. There's one, you know what it was? There's one music video that they have where they're in a house, and it's very like almost early 2000s, 2008, 2009, super, super young, the tamed hair,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and they're like playing. And I remember it being like that music video that I was like, it's not clicking.
That might have been Discovering the Waterfront.
Something. It's just, it
Sounds
wasn't,
like that one.
it wasn't hitting with me.
That's the best album ever.
True. Okay,
so
then
good.
I'm gonna listen back, because I remember then I found Humanican by the Color Morale,
Oh.
and I was like, "Oh, dude!" I was like, it was amazing. And that whole album. There's another song, something. Fuck, I can't even remember now. I literally haven't listened to the Color Morale in
It's been a minute.
easy 3-4 years.
I always go back to No Hope.
yes.
That's my favorite by them.
Oh yeah.
So that one I always go back to. But the other ones, I don't really get to go back to them as much as I want to.
There's just, I don't know what it was, but like growing up, there was just something about them that I was like, I want to play in this band. Like I don't want to
Yes.
like be in a band because of them. I already wanted that. I was like, I just want to play in this band.
Hey, this band
I want to
exclusively.
play in this fucking band. I'm like, even if I'm just playing like side snare shit,
Yeah.
and Steve Carey's still
You
drumming,
can
I'm
be
like,
Clown from Slipknot.
I'll just be
in-
Clown,
in
like
Color
just
Morale.
yeah, exactly. Just give me a fucking keg and a bat. Like
Yeah.
sign me up. Like, I don't care if we're living in like, you know, an F-150 van or
It's
E350 or whatever. Like just
Yeah.
sign me up. And
I just
I
love
was
the
so into
lyricism in the Color Morale. I thought it was
Same.
like so different for the time that metalcore was in.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
2010s. Like for them to sing about suicide,
yeah,
prevention, and like drug addiction. And,
sing
like,
about real things too. You
and,
know,
like,
it's
pain
funny.
and hurt and stuff. You know, so
At that show, if you remember, they had the meet and greet. Before.
I didn't get the meet and greet, but yeah.
So I was with one of my friends at the time. We were at the show, and we were waiting in line out of the Hard Luck, and they walk out, and I lose my fucking marbles. I'm like going crazy because it was like an all ages show, you know, for a metalcore. It was just like it never
Unheard
happens
of,
ever.
yeah.
But you know, like the opener, I don't. It was the Color Morale.
Yeah.
It was
who else
Our Last
there?
Night and Hands Like Houses.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Our Last Night was
yeah.
the band that did those stellar covers of
on
like
YouTube,
Rihanna and all that shit, you know, on
Mhm.
YouTube and stuff. And they sounded great. I really liked their music, you know.
And Hands Like Houses was sick back then too.
Oh, 100%. But they had some other opener that couldn't make it across the border. It was supposed to be 4 bands.
Mm.
It ended up
Oh, yeah,
only
that's
being
right.
3.
Yeah, yeah.
And they couldn't make it across the border. So everything, like, it kind of screwed up the Color Morale. It kind of screwed up, you know, the other 2 acts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And the time during their set, they just turned that into a meet and greet. So
Okay,
all the
cool.
bands were out. And so I remember because people were talking to the Color Morale, I met the drummer of Our Last Night. And I had just started using Vic for 3A drumsticks. And I had brought my sticks with me to get Steve Carey to sign.
Nice.
Which I have at home still. But I got him to sign. I was like, can you sign my stick? And he's like, you use 3As. I was like, I fucking do, man. And he's like, I use 3As. I was like, let's make out. That's amazing. I was like, that's so
Let's
cool.
be best friends.
They literally like just like take me on tour. Like bring me with you. I'll just hold myself underneath the truck like the whole time.
You just hide the drum kit.
Yeah, I'll be in the bass drum. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like just like hold me down. And it was so cool meeting all of them. Like Hands Like Houses I knew of and I liked some tunes, but it wasn't like starstruck moment.
Australian.
And then yeah, still great. All wearing sandals, you know, just wild.
That's
Just
what they do, man.
You know?
Good day, mate.
Exactly, right? And then Color Morale was in like that far corner of the Hard Luck, like where now they have like tables and shit right by the mixing board, you know? And they were all sitting there just hanging out, and I was like, to this day I remember like too much excitement for these dudes that probably drove overnight from wherever they were in the US to get to fucking college in Bathurst, which was not a pleasant drive entering Toronto at
Probably
all.
not, no.
You know, and then for them to not find parking, because I now know what the Hard Luck's like finding parking, unloading gear. It's a pain in the fucking ass. And then the stairs. So they had to deal with those stairs at the Hard Luck.
Too, yeah.
So all of that, you know, considered, and then I'm showing up there and I'm like, giddy as
guys.
shit. I'm like, hi, you know what I mean?
What's up, man?
I'm just, how's it going?
guys
And
are
they're
so
like,
sick.
hi, kid. And then I remember like talking to them and saying like, I fucking love your music so much. Like I used to set up my drum set exactly like Steve
Steve's?
Carey. Like I had the snare angled, I had like the toms flat like Travis, and then he had like the three cymbals like almost at equal playing field, and he always just like play like this and shit. And I was like, I'm fucking Steve Carey, and I had like shitty double bass pedals, and you know,
Nice.
I couldn't fucking play. But I asked, oh my god, what's the singer's name again? You just said Garrett. I asked him what made him want to be a musician. And he told me he didn't even want to be a musician.
Yeah.
That he
that's
actually
the
wanted to
thing.
be like a journalist. Like he wanted to be a writer.
Hence the
You know?
lyricism.
And hence the lyricism. And I remember at that time it didn't click until long after. Probably around like the last Warped Tour where like I was like, oh damn. Like that's what that means. You know, because I talked to fuck man, I'm forgetting everybody's name today. The guy from Memphis Mayfire.
Matty Mullins?
Matty Mullins, thank you. Fuck, I could have just
you,
thought
bro.
about the.
I got
you got
you,
me,
bro.
bro. IMDb on the metalcore scene, bro. You know? He was.
Encyclopedia.
We were walking outside of like the entrance of the Budweiser, like where they held Warped Tour, like that, like long strip, you know. And I was like, "Do you mind if I grab a picture and shit?" And he's like, "Of course." And I remember telling him, like, "Dude, I love like your lyrics and everything that you do." And he's like, "I used to write as a kid." Like I was a writer first. I didn't become a singer until much later. And Garrett had the same story. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Well,
Like,
I remember
wow.
hearing a story somewhere, and like I don't know if this is true, so internet, take it easy.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing somewhere that on that first record with Humanican and stuff,
Yeah.
all of those like deep screams are
Right.
not actually him.
Really? Oh, it was the guitarist at
It
the
was
time.
their producer.
It was their producer.
That's what I heard.
Oh, true. Because I
Yeah,
remember the
'cause
first
Garrett couldn't
guitarist.
scream when they first started.
Really?
Yeah, he can just do the clean vocals.
Wow.
But
You
they were
can
signed
hear
to
that the-
Rise,
Yeah.
and Rise wanted the screams.
Yeah.
So the producer
yeah.
did all like the low end screams.
Because so then probably because I remember they had this guitarist, this kind of bigger guy that was playing with them.
He would do the backup screams sometimes too.
I think he did those live.
Yeah, he must
you
have
know.
done it live for sure.
Yeah, that's so wild.
And then
Think
you could
about that.
tell like the
You can
progression
hear
of
it
the band
later.
that Garrett started to do the screams.
Yeah.
But they're not the same screams from the first
They're,
record.
but they're like you can hear, because they've always had the other members do backing vocals. You know.
Yeah.
You can hear, especially on the last record, they have that guitarist Aaron. Yes,
Yeah,
and
did
he
all
looks.
the screams on that.
Yeah, but you can hear there's moments that Garrett does that too. I think, or maybe it's the record before with the Save Yourself and that shit.
No Hope.
No Hope. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Garrett did all the screams on that one.
I gotta-
But they're,
I
like,
gotta-
the high end shrilly ones.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta get back into the camera. I gotta listen again. I haven't heard
You
that
like it,
music
man?
in
I'm glad that
forever,
sparked it.
dude. It's so rad though, man. Like, I'm so glad you're a fan of them. That's so cool. Like, I remember telling people about them and stuff, and people were like, "Yeah, they're okay, I guess." And I was like, "No, they're amazing.
No, they're so good, man.
I'm like, I fucking love this band.
Shut
Like,
the fuck up.
Yeah,
They're,
like,
they're so
just-
good.
Just eat ass. Like, just fucking listen to the Colorado, you know? Like, damn. So,
That's funny.
one of the other things I wanted to ask is, what is your start in music? What got you into playing music? Because you come from the hockey world as well.
I do, yeah.
So what was
as we
that
discussed.
transition? Yeah, that was another great for the listeners. As we were setting up, we were talking about like hockey and stuff, and Taylor and I both found out that we both played rep hockey as goalies, which is wild. So
Goalie
it's like,
respect goalie, like you
yeah,
said.
goalie respects goalie. I remember the transition out of hockey into like music seriously was a little bit weird, But like, what was your start with music and sort of making that your career?
Sure. So for me, like hockey was always the main thing in my life as a kid.
Yeah.
But so was music though. Like it was always the two of them hand in hand. But I always favored hockey more, I guess, because I was more involved in that world, right?
Right. Right.
And it wasn't really until my parents passed away
I'm sorry to hear.
that it's okay, man. Thank you. That I needed an outlet more
Yeah.
than what hockey was giving me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I grew up with two uncles that were like heavily into music. They both played guitar. Like they both listened to like Led Zeppelin, Iron Maiden,
Right. Right.
Ozzy, all the classics.
Yeah, all
right?
the classics for
So
sure.
I grew up hearing it, and my mom and dad, like before they passed,
Yeah.
were into that kind of stuff as well.
Dope.
So like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
grew up in a not musically gifted household, but musical household. Like
Yeah,
there was always
for sure.
music on in the house somewhere, right? So I was always surrounded by it, and I always knew that I like had a fondness for it, but I didn't really start playing until they had passed. And I
Right.
needed some sort of outlet to kind of deal with the trauma of it all, and
Yeah,
like, just the
absolutely.
emotions I was feeling, and like I didn't really have anywhere to go to take it, right?
Yeah.
And like hockey was fine, but like the bros in hockey, like
Yeah.
it's not very
It's
conducive of that
certainly
state,
and
right?
there it doesn't have that like emotional release, like, especially as a
physical
goalie.
release,
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
and then as a goalie too, you're stuck
Yeah,
back there by
but you're
yourself.
stuck.
You know what I mean? So it's like I needed something more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my uncles bought me my first guitar when I was 13,
Nice.
and I started to learn by myself. I never got any lessons. Still to this day, never had any lessons. Really.
Wow.
I'm not very good, but
I think you are. I think you're pretty good.
I get by.
Yeah.
I write songs. But I never really learned any covers either. I was always against covers for some reason. So even to this day, I have like a little bit of like covers. Like
I do have moments. It depends on the cover. It's
Yeah,
gotta be
that-
tasteful, or like you reimagine the song.
but I could just do whatever. Like I'm in
Yeah.
control of who I cover. But even still, I'm like I'd
Yeah.
rather make original music. You know,
I feel
that's
that.
where I thrive the most.
Yeah,
and where
yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
most comfortable. Right, doing covers is kind of like I don't know. That's a whole other thing. to
Yeah,
get into,
for
but-
sure.
But yeah, so I started playing when I was 13. I would honestly just lock myself in my room for hours and hours
Yeah.
and just listen to whatever record I had
Right.
and just sit there and try to
Trying to
find
figure it
what
out.
it, what
So
it
were you
was.
learning by ear to like try and
Yeah,
find chords and notes?
For the most part, yeah.
Nice.
And it wasn't until I got to high school where my high school had a guitar class specific.
Right. Right.
You know how like this like big band or whatever
Yeah.
jazz, but like my high school, thank God, had a guitar course
Interesting.
as a
Did you
credit.
go to Catholic high school or public high school?
Public.
Okay, that's weird because I've always heard about public high schools having like band, like orchestral band, jazz band, and then like a guitar class or rock band class or something
Yeah.
like that. Like my high school was Catholic. We had just the band, and then we had a thing called Guitar Club, which was like rock band, like
Sure.
School of Rock, you know.
Sure.
So I'm always curious to see like what's the education system like, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. So I was very fortunate to be in a school that offered that. And like again, it goes back to the whole outlet thing. Like I was allowed to express myself
Right.
through that, being in that program, but in that class. in
Yeah,
high school.
yeah.
And that's kind of how I learned a lot more of the basics.
Right.
Because I was only getting so far with ear training.
Yeah, of course.
And I
Yeah.
don't come from a rich family, so like I couldn't afford to go to lessons.
Exactly,
Right? So
yeah.
I had to basically learn on my own.
Yeah.
Or my uncles could teach me when they came to visit. Right.
Right.
So yeah, when I was in high school, I took it all 4 years.
Nice.
And that helped a lot, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And when it comes to singing and like writing songs,
Mm-hmm.
like that really developed in high school.
Right.
Before that, it was just kind of like playing guitar for fun and just like having that be my outlet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never really thought it could be more than just that.
Right.
But then when I went to high school and I started taking guitar class
Mm-hmm.
for the 4 years, that's really when I started to develop a attraction to writing songs.
Right.
And wanting to create more than just play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And there's a funny story I could tell you about. It was in grade 11. I had never sung in front of anybody before. Right? I was a shy emo kid.
Yeah.
Long swoop, girl jeans, makeup, like the whole shebang, you know? So I was like stuck out like a sore thumb, but
Yeah.
like I didn't like other than that I didn't want to be the public figure. Like I didn't
Yeah,
want to
for
sing.
sure.
Like it was for me, not for anybody else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember we had this thing called Guitar Club, which
Right.
was after school on Fridays, I think, or Thursdays, Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And our music teacher would stay after school for us and allow us to chill out, hang out, practice in
Yeah.
the music room. Like she was the best. Miss Denise, if you're watching, Shout out to Miss Denise. She's the reason why I'm here.
Absolutely.
And my uncles, obviously. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's a big part of pushing me.
Right.
So I was in a practice room, right?
Mm.
By myself. And I had written this like caught awful, like emo, super literal lyric song.
Right,
about,
right.
like, I hate my life. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm singing.
Mm.
And I didn't see Miss Denise. Because we had these like little windows, right, in the doors.
Right.
So you can kind of like look through to the practice
Yeah.
room. And I didn't see that she'd been watching me. And because my back was turned, right?
Right.
And so I hear the knock and it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, can I come in? And I'm like, yeah, sure. She's like, your singing is awesome. And I'm
Really?
like, oh God, you were listening to me. I was like, no. You know, so now I'm all shy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no. And she's like, no, you have a nice voice, Taylor. Like, you need to work on it more. But, like,
Yeah.
you should keep doing this.
That's awesome.
And so she gave me the courage and
Yeah.
confidence that I was lacking.
Mm.
And then the following year, we had this thing called Rock in the Lecture Hall, which
Oh,
my
nice.
class created.
Right.
And it was funny because like it was kind of like a guinea pig course.
Mm.
They'd never done grade 12 guitar course before in my school.
Right. Right.
So the music teacher, Miss Denise, she had no idea what to do with it.
Mm.
She basically, the first day we got there, she like opened up her book and was like, so there's no curriculum. So what do you guys want to do?
Wow.
And we came up with it the first day, what the rest of the course is going to be.
Really?
Yeah. It was
So was it
super
like,
cool.
what did you guys do? Like, was it the performance? Was it just
So yeah,
playing?
it was basically what it was like every month we'd play a show in school.
Damn.
And she would grade us on the work we put into the song that we did
Right.
and the performance and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff. Like, yeah, so it was like really training us for
That is
The next
very
step.
similar to courses that I've done, like post-secondary. You know, it's not playing monthly, but it's almost like there's a performance aspect. Like we had a song materials class where like you would learn jazz standards and you play them to the class.
right.
So it's like bi-weekly or something like that, you know? So that's really great though. Cause it's one of those, I can imagine like for the month of September, you know, you do like, you know, I don't know, all the small things or whatever. Right. And then like the month after that, you're like, okay, that was kind of difficult.
Did
Let's try
that.
this new tune, you know? And it's like,
yeah.
it's not like sometimes the thing that kind of, how do I say annoys me or worries me? Something in between there, some sort of like adjective in between there where it's like you have like that final year, end of the year recital
Mm-hmm.
and you know it's coming. And it's like, I feel like that's so much prep time for like 30 minutes. Or
Right.
for some students, like it's like 5 minutes or 10.
Right.
And it's like you don't get to do it again for another year, but you get to do it monthly. Now you're actually practicing the performance part. You can practice all
month.
you want
Yeah.
in the practice room, but to practice performing, you need to perform often. So I can see
Exactly.
how that's like very beneficial.
It was
you know, to
super
play
beneficial,
monthly.
man, and like having that experience obviously trained me for what was to come for the rest of my life up until now, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, it was super huge, man, and so that's kind of where it all got started.
Nice, man. I love hearing that. I'm like, you know, being a music teacher, I love hearing when someone's teacher was a critical part of whatever it is that they do, whether it's sports, finance, music, you know, arts.
I mean, like I said, like if it wasn't for Miss Denise giving me the push
Yeah.
in that practice room
Mhm.
all those years ago, like, and then I remember in grade 12 when we were doing the Rock and Lecture Hall where we'd do the shows monthly.
Right.
You know, for the most part, for that year, I was just doing like covers of songs with like a band of my friends in the group, whatever. Like
Right.
I'd play drums or guitar, or I'd do backups, or
Multi-instrumentalist.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would go around and do all that kind of stuff. But then I wrote a song that I was really proud of, and I asked Miss Denise, I was like, "Hey, can I play you a song?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." So I played her the song, and it was a stripped back, like City and Color kind of feel,
Yeah.
you know,
Nice.
something very different from what I've been doing the whole course, basically.
Right.
And I was like so nervous because I'd never
Yeah.
played just me
Of course,
and
yeah.
original material, right?
Right, right.
And I was like, "Do you think this is good enough to play for the next show?"
Right.
Like, and I'll just go up by myself and play it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Absolutely, you should definitely do that."
Damn.
So I took the next step, and the next show, I just went out there by myself on a guitar and sang my own.
Do you still
song.
have this song?
It's awful.
Oh my god.
It's such a bad song. Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube though.
True.
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
I made a music video for it. With
Really?
some friends of mine. Yeah.
Dope.
We found like an abandoned house somewhere and shot this whole thing.
Oh, nice. The
Yeah, it's
abandoned
called
house.
Sorrow.
Nice.
Real original title.
What
yeah,
is-
man.
There's a song. There's a song. Oh my god! I was just listening to a song that's called Sorrow. Oh, Boxcar Racer.
Okay.
Yes, I was like, why does that remind me of something? Boxcar
Probably better
Racer.
than mine.
They had writers.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonge had writers.
They weren't 16 and depressed.
Yeah, there you go. You know. So who like we talked about metalcore and all that stuff, but
yeah.
I'd love to know some of like the indirect or like unassuming musical influences you've had on your music that's out right now. And the reason why I ask this is like I like the project that I have is like the name is inspired by Miles Davis, the image is inspired by like MF Doom or Slipknot or Gorillaz or Dead
With the
Mouse.
mask.
You know, exactly with the
Yeah.
mask, but then the music is inspired by like The Strokes, Boxcar Racer.
I can hear that.
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like
Yeah.
there's little moments where I'm like I want it to make you feel like Led Zeppelin, but it doesn't sound like Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like Weezer or whatever. I get Weezer all the time, which is wild. I'm like not a big Weezer fan, but
That's so
someone's
funny
like,
that you say
"This
that,
sounds like
'cause
Weezer," and I'm like,
I have
"Fuck
that
off."
like one riff that you've been posting in my head, the ding 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 ding.
Oh
ding,
yeah, the end of an
ding,
era,
ding.
yeah.
And like that is such a Weezer riff.
Ah, damn it! No! I'm canning the whole
I'm
project.
sorry,
I'm
man.
kidding. I'm kidding. No, no. Honestly,
it's a good thing though. It's a huge compliment. 'cause
honestly,
Weezer's sick.
I do take it as a huge compliment. I'm not a fan of their records, but I
okay.
saw them live at Coachella and I loved it live.
Yeah, no, they're sick.
They also brought out the girl from TLC and Tears for Fears.
Ooh,
So to hear Everyone
nice.
Wants to Rule the World, you know, at that stage is like amazing.
Yeah.
So
for
and
sure.
when someone says it, I'm like, I was really hoping you would say this obscure band that I was like, this band's cool, but how are
Yeah.
you supposed to know them? You
like
know,
Discount
so
for Cute or something.
something like that. Yeah, actually, they're great too.
Really? Well, it's true. It's true.
But yeah, like,
But
what
yeah.
are some of your like indirect influences for me? Are oh my god, what are they called? Not Electric Light Orchestra, something orchestra. That's one of them, but not like for one song kind of thing. But there's one band that I can't remember their name right now. I don't even really know their music. I just know how I felt listening to one of their songs one time. So then every time I write, I always try and chase that feeling, not that sound or aesthetic.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're like an indirect influence. Like I'm not literally saying I'm
Sure.
going to play guitars like this. Like I'm just trying to chase that one
Right.
thing. Do you have something similar?
That's a good question, man. Because like you always get like who are your direct influences, right?
Yeah, all the
Which
time.
obviously, like for anyone that listens to my stuff,
Yeah.
it's obvious. I wear it on my sleeves quite literally.
Yeah, exactly. It's in color.
Shit in color.
Yeah.
And you know,
So are you an Alexis fan as well?
I love Alexis on Fire.
Nice.
I've seen them twice now since they've been back. Let's go.
Leo
Leo
approves.
over there is I got Leo's approval.
There you go, buddy.
I got Sitting Color script for my eggs. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, so obviously Dallas Green is
Yeah.
tremendous influence of mine. I mean, like again, like I don't know if I'd be here on this planet without him and his songs.
Yeah,
You know,
for
and,
sure.
And for me as a songwriter, I really look up to him and the way he structures his songs, the way he approaches the lyricism. Like
Right.
it's heavily influenced in my music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether I like to believe it or not, it definitely
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
But like, you know, and even when people tell me like this whole Weezer thing for you, right? You're like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's like when I get Sitting Color, I'm just flattered.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just humbled
Absolutely.
and flattered that
Yeah.
anyone would think I'm even close to Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, like that's such a huge thing for me. I think indirectly Silverstein plays a big role. Even though they are my favorite band of all time.
Right, right.
But they're completely different genre.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Like I don't make metal music, right?
Yeah, you're
I
not
make
singing there.
folk rock music. So, but I think the lyricism and the tone of the music they bring is something that
Right.
I chase for
Yeah.
my stuff. Adriano, my producer, my like one of my best friends, him and I talked about this the other day, like a few months ago. We were making my second record.
At Stone Roof was what it's
Stone
called,
Roof
right?
Studios. Yeah. We were talking about it the other day, and he's like, "This new version of you with this next record is kind of like taking both the worlds that you love so much and getting as close as you can to marrying them."
Oh,
Like, because I'm a huge metalcore fan, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I listen to on a daily basis.
right.
But I also love folk. Like,
Yeah.
I love Sitting Color. I love Dawes. I love Current Swell. I love all like this like nichey folk stuff.
Right, right.
and then like everything in between, obviously. But like those are my two dominant genres.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I make folk music, right?
Right.
So this next record, I kind of wanted to lean heavier on the rock side of it to like kind of appease that metalcore side of my brain.
Yeah, for sure.
Know? So indirect influences, to get back to your question, sorry. Tangent.
It's all good, man. Tangents are what's needed for a podcast.
Yeah, this podcast brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say like Silverstein. Another big one for me is this band called Currentswell. I don't really like. Well, I guess now, like I said, I'm getting more into the folk rock stuff. That's what they do.
Right.
I'd say a lot of their uppity kind of fun dance stuff is starting to influence me a lot more.
Yeah.
I'd say like the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
I fucking love the Goo Goo Dolls so much.
Dude, there was like, I don't know. Oh, I know why now, because I was playing with Equal. So shout out to Equal. They're two sisters, Saline and Chelsea. Like some of the greatest people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. They're like just ridiculously polite and thoughtful. And I was a session drummer for their EP release show. And they're like, hey, like here are the list of covers along with our originals. And one of them was Iris.
I was going to say, tell me one of those Iris.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And they mixed it in with what's the Jimmy Eat World song? Don't write yourself off yet. What's the name of that tune? The Middle. Thank you. So we did like the first little bit, you know, verse, chorus, and then they just like held the chord, and then brung it into like you brought it from 4/4 into like 6/8, and then just sang it. And
cool.
After like practicing it was cool, but then once we performed it and it was like you created that song happening live. I wasn't playing along to the MP3 like Spotify version. I wasn't like in rehearsal like super locked in.
Yeah.
Like we're playing the show and I just get to like be free and just play. After that, I was binging that song and Google Dolls music for like a solid week. Dude, I was just like, oh man, this is so good. It's like I love it.
I was a huge Goo Goo Dolls kick while making this new record. So
nice.
I
That's
guess
a great
I just kind of like subconsciously like just started sucking all Goo Goo Dolls stuff.
They're really good.
And it was like my mom's favorite band too.
Right.
So like growing up, I had an affinity for them anyways, right?
Of course.
So,
yeah. If you listen to the band Keane. Keane. Keane.
Yeah, no.
Oh, dude, I'm literally gonna curate you a playlist.
Please do.
Yes.
Please do.
You'll know.
I'm sure I will.
Somewhere Only We Know, Crystal Ball. What are some other big ones? Like, is that Somewhere Only We Know? I laid the back of my hand, felt the earth. Simple thing. I think it's Somewhere Only We Know. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Somewhere Only We Know. Yeah. They're so good. They're. I don't want to say they're British. British or Irish. Yeah, the British, the Peaky Blinder.
Cup of tea.
You know what is so brutal? I apologize for my ADHD brain to kick in and just like completely like just fucking change it. There's a British TV show that is like the premise is essentially like there's two friends that I think have a beef or maybe not, like two people. Maybe they could be friends, siblings, exes, currently dating, whatever, and then they just give a tattoo to the other person without that person knowing what the tattoo is. So they do it to each other.
Oh, I've
so
seen this.
It's like, oh, you're going to give Taylor a tattoo. Taylor, you're going to give Ian a tattoo. It can be whatever you want on whatever body part you want, except for like the parts that they say no. Like, don't tattoo my balls. Like, that's obviously cool. You know, there's some people that are like literally placed on like below the waistline. Like, you're kind of wild, but it can be anything. And they'll like tattoo like, oh, you know, that embarrassing thing that happened to them in high school. Now there's a tattoo.
No.
Or like, there was one, I think it was like a devil woman kind of figure, but then she had like ice cream cones in two, you know, places, and then like just had all this stuff. But then she was like taking a dump on his, and it was on his chest, and I was like, "What the hell? This is so wild!" And they're sitting there, and they've got these things just fear goggles. It's just like those douchey like wakeboarding kind of sunglasses, but they've been spray painted on with like a whole bunch
Oakley
of
ones.
Yeah, you know, but there's like neon yellow and purple spray paint on them so they can't see. And then they're like, you can remove your field goggles, and then they're like, we're gonna count down, and then they count down from whatever, you know, arbitrary number, and then they take it off, and they just like they see it, and they're like, you wank, and then they like go off, and I'm like, how is this real?
Are you taking a piss?
Yeah, like. It's Tuesday, innit? Like, it's just so, like, it's so wild. Like, how does this show exist, man? Why do people sign up for this shit?
Oh man.
It's so every time, like,
Reality
I just,
TV,
you know,
man. Ugh.
yeah, I just hear like some British shit, and it goes like Peaky Blinders into Fear Goggles. I'm like,
There you go.
so wild, man. It's so wild. So let's talk about your new music.
Sure, man.
To get back on this music talk
Music
over here
train.
from this quick, segue, British people.
Yes.
You released your new song a long time coming.
Yeah.
When did you release that?
August 26th.
Okay, so it's been out for some time. It seems like it's been
out
getting
for
a
a
lot
month.
of love. Yeah.
It's got 50,000 streams on Spotify.
Hell
baby.
yeah, dude. That's fucking awesome, man.
crazy,
Congrats.
man.
So we have. Can I mention the
Yeah,
event?
fuck it. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Dope. So you have your album release show in November.
Woo!
Shee.
Let's go.
Album release show in it.
In it.
So, what's the name of the album?
The name of the album is New Sights in a Familiar Place.
Nice. Hell yes.
Yes.
It's funny. You and I have had conversations about you and I, saying me and Leo, have had conversations
Me
about
and the
like
ghost over there.
me and the ghost, yeah. As he's wearing white.
There you go.
Oh yeah, shout out. Is that Citizen or Turnstile?
What?
Your shirt.
No, that's Turnstile.
Oh, true.
You said the ghost over there. I'm thinking of a song from Citizen.
Oh,
There you go.
So we have your album release show, and we
do.
have the title, and you have the long titles and
I
long
do.
song names. Is that something that like you see that comes from the like hardcore emo metalcore
That's a
kind of
good
world?
point, actually, that you made that connection.
Mm.
I totally subconscious.
And more pop punk. Fall Out Boy does that a lot.
So
Fall Out Boy,
the
but
reason why
Panic and a lot of other
Yeah.
like
They don't remember does too.
Yeah.
all those old like metalcore bands back in the day had like 17 sentence
super
long,
long
fucking titles.
like you're attractive and I'm not, but we're here in this class together, so
yeah,
why
my
don't
name's
we
for
just
Highway. Or
yeah,
whatever,
you know
like,
what I mean?
yeah.
Just like super long, like 8 commas. It's like
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. Scorpion Deathlock.
Yeah.
Whatever, but yeah. Devil Wears Prada, like, yeah. I mean, this title is directly correlated to my first record.
Right.
Because this new record is a follow up to the concept of my first record.
And what was the concept for the first record?
So yeah, the first record was called "Learning to Live with Precious Time."
Mm.
So it's the same amount
Yeah.
of words,
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
kept
for
it
sure.
very conceptualized, right?
Right.
So yeah, the first record was an accumulation of a lot of songs that I had written over the last like 7 years of my life, basically.
Right.
That I had never really gotten around to recording or whatever like that, or taking my solo career seriously. And so, because I was in a band called The Common Chase before I really got into my solo career.
Right.
So after The Common Chase broke up, I was like, well, I have these songs.
Mm.
Like, let's just record them and put them out kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was never really set out to be a concept album. It was just kind of a collection of songs that I'd written that I felt good about, and
Right.
I wanted to make a record, right?
Absolutely.
But during pre-pro with Adriano again, who I worked
Yeah.
on both records with, we kind of sat down, and he's like, do you realize that like all of these songs kind of like tell a story? Like, and if we move them, sorry,
It's all
microphone.
good.
If we move them in a way, like it'll consistently tell a story of your life. And we
Really?
kind of sat down with him. We're like, oh yeah, you're right, man. Like, without realizing it, every song that I'd added to this record was a huge pinpoint in my life, right? Like, I write a lot about personal experiences,
Yeah.
and like trauma, and like I don't shy away from talking about vulnerable things, right?
Right. Absolutely.
That's how it's very cathartic for me. It's how I cope
Yeah.
with stuff.
It's how you
right?
deal with it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then in my mind, it's like it helps me, but if someone can hear my songs and like is also going through something similar, like with depression or suicidal thoughts
Yeah.
or the loss of a loved one or relationship, like if someone else can relate to that and find comfort in my song because they're not alone,
Right.
like, that's everything to me, right?
Absolutely.
Anyways, the concept of the first record was basically just the story of my life up until
Up until that point.
that point in my
Right.
life, right? It kind of pinpointed every major thing that had happened to me in my life. So just kind of like a diary,
Yeah.
almost, or like a scrapbook.
I'm a fan of music like that. Like I relate to that a lot because that's what like my first EP
You were just telling
was.
me like yours is very similar.
Yeah, and it's funny that you did that subconsciously. Or, not funny, but it's like it's interesting to hear it. You
It
know,
just worked out
because
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did it like I I need to write about this thing, you know, like, and I could already see, like, because it was so fresh, like I was like, these are like the 5 things that have like really fucked me up. Like I'm like, let me, like,
Right.
like find closure by creating something tangible out of it, you know.
Absolutely. For
So
sure.
it's cool to hear that, because it's like, I don't know, how do you feel about like writing about something fictional in the sense of like, I don't know, like, you like Cake by the Ocean, for example, is a song that I actually enjoy listening to,
It's a fun song.
you know, and it's like, were you actually eating, like, you know,
Cake by the Ocean.
Cake by the Ocean?
Or are you referencing?
Are you
sex?
referencing something? You know what I mean? Or just even a song that's in that style of songwriting that doesn't sound like doesn't immediately give you the impression that it's something that actually happened, you know, like just writing songs, just making something up. Like I've tried to do that, and I'm like, it's really hard to like come up with something that that I'm interested in as I'm writing it. Like I've written like a verse that's just like some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I build around this now? Like I don't even know where to go. I feel like this idea is like run itself dry already, just off these 8 bars. You
Right,
know?
right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I have a great story for you.
Yes. Do
To
tell.
answer this
Do tell.
question.
Yes.
Because it directly correlates to what you just asked. So
Right.
It's hilarious. Well, not hilarious. You'll see in
Yeah.
a second what I mean. But yeah. So it was actually the second single off my debut record that we were just talking about.
Right.
That follows the whole story of my life. That song started off as that.
Really?
So I was living in Wales at the time. I lived there for a year
Nice.
with my ex-girlfriend at
Right.
the time. And I was playing shows at pubs and stuff and open mic nights and everything like that.
Yeah.
Trying to get my name out there on that side of the world, you know.
Right, for
While I
sure.
was there, right? And I wrote a song called Drifting. Um, and I challenged myself with that song when I was writing it there. Because, like, everything was kind of going good in my life at that point. Like, there was
Right.
nothing, like, too dramatic. Like, yeah, my parents had passed, and I was dealing with depression still. But, like,
Yeah.
I was living in another country. I was exploring. You know, I was in love with my girlfriend at the time. So, like,
Yeah.
everything's kind of working out. So I didn't really have anything, like, negative to write about, which was what I always write about.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's like, I can't write a happy song to save my life.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's write about a story then. Like, let's try to write a fictional thing, like you were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's difficult, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
as a writer, you draw from experiences from what you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So I challenged myself that day to sit down and kind of write a song that's not about me, like about like something else that you can create, right? And so what I created was a fictional story about 2 people who are in and out of each other's lives a lot, and then finally commit, but the commitment is overbearing,
Really?
and it's like the love is almost too strong for it to work
Wow.
because they're too much for each other.
Really?
Hence-
I've never thought of that.
Hence the drifting,
Yeah.
because like the way I imagined it in my mind was like sailing basically.
Right.
Like you're both on a ship, but the ship is bound to go down, right? And you're having fun while it's nice, but then as soon as the storm comes in, it gets chaotic, right?
Yeah, it gets very chaotic.
So yeah, that's kind of like the idea I had for the song, was these 2 characters that were like in love, but it just didn't work out, kind of thing.
That's an interesting story, though. Of you know, but did that story, like, you're seeing
Well,
the story?
here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait a minute. I was about to say, like, it's
Yeah.
interesting, like, to write about a relationship that's too much. Like, I feel like maybe it's my echo chamber, but I feel like 99.99% of the time it's always like, you didn't commit, like, fuck you, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then it's like, that's why this didn't work, like, you weren't trying. But to have the opposite, which is very real, can absolutely happen, you know. So
Yeah.
anyways, continue.
Yeah, well, I mean, the weird part about this song was that I wrote this before my ex and
Right.
I broke up. Like, we were good at the time I wrote this song.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she actually helped me write it.
Wow.
So I finished it, and I tested it at a bunch of pubs and stuff, and it went really well. People really liked the song. And then it all went downhill with my relationship in real life.
Damn.
And without realizing it, I had basically written the future of our relationship.
Whoa.
And then when I came back to Canada after, because we broke up and I had to move back to Canada because she ended up staying there,
Right, right.
and I moved back here, and I started playing the song again here,
Yeah.
it took on a whole new meaning for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that song became about her and I.
Yeah.
So what I set out to be a fictional story ended up becoming a real life
real
story
story.
for me.
Damn.
So there's no escaping it.
Dude, I've had that scenario on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
The first album, and I didn't even realize this until like I want to say end of July. Yeah, it was the weekend of my mom's birthday because I was away at my uncle on my tio's cottage. Yeah, so Crimson is about a girl that I dated for 5.5 years. So from 2014 to like 2019, with a little bit of extra, whatever went on, after. And like Just a Stranger is about. I had tickets to an Ash concert at Velvet, and I forgot that she was going. So then that's like I saw my ex there, like right at the fucking front door.
Of course.
And then like I think she thinks is about like her and I like talking again, but like we're gonna be friends. But then there's always those moments of like, is this flirting? Like I think she thinks that we're friends. You know what I mean? Like trying to figure that out. And then like Changes was a like I just need to make a change. You know what I mean? Like I need to swap it around. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna put any vocals on, and I'm actually gonna put a guitar solo, which I've never done before. Like I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then Almond Blossom was a song that's like, or I keep saying was in the past tense, but it still is. But when I was writing
it's
it,
still
it
out
was,
there. Go stream it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please do. Please, I need to fucking move out. So please. You know what I mean? So when I wrote Almond Blossom, it was very much nostalgic in the sense of like, I wish I was like the old me, because right now the puzzle pieces like aren't kind of fitting. Like the tectonic plates of life are all out of whack. You know what I mean? And then Serenity was a tune that was like how this first girlfriend was when I first met her, and how great it would be if she was that way still. But you can't have that. So the fact that I believe, like my belief in this is so strong at that time that it feels like a fact that this type of person still exists is what's making me glad to be alive in that kind of way. That's kind of like what the lyrics are saying,
Okay.
And then I did another girl from when I broke up with the first girl till now, which is like years later. I dated this girl basically like late last year into like May of this year.
Right.
I was like, oh wow, like the tune Serenity just wrote like this next girlfriend. I was like, wow, that's really wild. And then I got dumped, and then I was like, wow, all those other 4 songs are like here again. And then I listened to Serenity, and I'm like, oh, that's like despite all of that, you can still have faith that person still exists, because now here's 2 examples of that person existing. You have an exhibit A and B, so you can never say it's impossible again. So I feel you on that, like you're almost writing the future. And then I'm like, man. This is why I don't want to watch the Truman Show, because I only heard little bits about it, and I'm like, I don't want to know. like the simulation. Like I'm not any way a tinfoil hat kind of guy,
Sure.
But it's also the same thought of, damn, like what's this, because you don't want to say.
They're like, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you don't want to be the guy that's like, it's not hard to put 2 and 2 together. It's like, that's a conspiracy. You know what I mean? like stay away.
It's just funny, like jumping, like piggybacking on that. It's just like my friends are always laughing at me now, like after I tell them that story about drifting, and it happened recently with another song too. But they're like, dude, you just have this thing where you write songs and it just happens. Like, you just started writing about winning the lottery or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's always not easy.
It doesn't work that way, man.
No, if you try and do it, if you try and do it, it's not. You have to like, write something.
It just has to happen naturally.
Yeah, exactly.
But it always turns out to be the negative shit that turns into real. It's like, can I just ever have a positive?
You just have a win. It's just like,
come on, man, give me a W for once.
Yeah, just like I'm tired of these L's.
Bro, come on.
Absolutely. So with the new record, without spoiling, because obviously it hasn't come out yet, and I still want people to like. I want to ask this question in a way where it further entices people to listen to the music. With that being said, with this new record, the direction is it the same as the last one, where it's like we're now writing about things that just happened, or is it from a place of like enjoying the present? Is it a place from the future? Like, where's the sort of the foundation of this next record?
Dark.
Okay.
No, I mean yes and no.
Right.
It follows, like I said, it follows the concept from the first one,
Right,
where it's
right.
basically like picking up from where that album left off.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and like everything that happened up until right now in this moment.
Really? See,
Yeah.
it's so funny, man. I like that's the same. That's the same thing that I do, essentially.
It's like chapters.
Yeah, it's like chapters, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just picking up.
I never set
Where
out
you
to
left
do
off.
that. It just kind of ended up, like I said, just ended
Just
up happening with
happened.
the first one, and then it
Right.
made sense to do it for the second one.
Yeah, it's so
Right.
funny because that's I set out. I was like, I don't know any other thing to talk about.
I mean,
You know
this
what I mean?
record I set out
For sure.
purposely to do it
Yeah.
this way, right? So
Absolutely.
like these songs are like definitely more directional in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're more of a cohesive package
Right, right.
rather than like bullet points.
Yeah, I see
like
what you
a
mean.
Huge, wide, like because the first record was like 7 years worth of,
Of stuff, it's
shit,
hard to
right?
fit it all in.
whereas
yeah.
this record is very like
Right.
this is 2 years of my life basically
Yeah.
from that when the record.
So
came
did
out.
you find songwriting in the sense of not just coming up with ideas, but like stamping ideas down? Like when I'm songwriting, I'm like, I know this is done. I never have to come back to it. You know, like I thankfully don't struggle with the like I release a song and then I'm like, was it good enough? I'm like, that's why I released it because I know that it's
'Cause
the
you know
best
that's
I
a
can
good
do.
place,
You know,
yeah.
and like this idea is done. Like when you finish a meal, you're not like, should I regurgitate?
I'm not satisfied.
You know what I mean? Should I order another steak? You know what I mean? Like I'm full. Like I'm happy, you know? So I have that with songwriting, but with this album because it's 2 years worth, do you find that you've been able to articulate those 2 years with more ease compared to 7 years? Because it's a short amount of time, therefore you can kind of give more substance and depth.
Good question, man. I think a little bit of both, honestly. Like, I knew exactly what I needed to write about because
Right.
it's very obvious
Right,
what I
right.
needed to write about. I mean,
sure.
like, there's this thing that happened,
Yeah, exactly.
that's still happening. That's like,
Right.
it's not as bad as it was, but
Right.
like, there's this thing called the panorama, or whatever you want to call it, the pandemic, whatever,
Yeah,
the corona,
yeah.
so like,
The
obviously,
panorama.
the panorama.
Just like those like long videos of like there's a really long cat for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can just give you a bullet point list of what happened to me.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I lost my job. I fell into a suicidal pit.
Right.
I had a relationship end over 3 years, and she was my everything, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
My battle with alcoholism, and then trying to find clarity in all of that
Right.
are the main themes of this next record.
Well, I appreciate your tenacity through life, man. Like it's
Thank you, buddy.
it's really like the word comforting comes to mind and the word triumphant comes to mind. It's kind of like an amalgamation of both.
Thank you, man.
To hear somebody that's like has, the kitchen sink thrown at them throughout life and then they're like, I'm still here today, still being a good person, still being like warm and welcoming and still being, just a good guy. So respects, man.
Dude, thank you, man. That means a
course.
lot to me.
Dude,
It really
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
like I'm starting to give myself more credit for it now.
Yeah.
Than what I used to. Because I was just like, nope, I'm just a coward. I'm just here because I'm too chicken to.
Right.
You know?
Do you
But,
find you've had an easier time recently, like accepting compliments from people?
Now I have for sure. Like this year especially, because I've
That's the
done
same
a lot
for
of
me.
growing this
Yeah.
year, and like even last year too. Like writing these songs was very therapeutic and very cathartic, and in the terms of like accepting the pain
Right.
rather than just kind of letting it go and not really dealing with it.
Yeah.
Like sitting with it and writing with it and like really addressing the issues deep in here,
Right.
right? To a point of like understanding,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and then acceptance and like, okay, this is who I am,
Yeah.
but that doesn't have to be who I have to be.
Right. It doesn't have to be permanent.
Yeah.
How's the cameras? Good. Beauty. Just making sure. So that's a point that I've been also in the same frame of mind like since late last year where again it's when someone's like, oh, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, to me that's just like really bad advice.
It's
like
just it's like lackadaisical advice.
yeah, it comes from a good place for the most part.
They mean well.
They mean
Yeah.
well, right? But it's like it's not actually helpful, and I think I don't know. Sometimes when someone has a problem, they want like immediate, long term, or permanent, like eternal resolution. You
Right.
know, they're like, just give me that one quick fix for eternity. I never have to worry about that. It's like,
Wouldn't
that's
that
just
be
not
fucking nice?
yeah, it's like that's fantastic, but if that doesn't happen in Marvel, then it's not going to happen
here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you also don't have a super suit, so you really got to work twice. You know?
Well, you
But
could have a super suit, but
yeah, it's just like just
whether
go
or
to
not it's
Walmart.
super is a different story.
Yeah, exactly. So like someone's ability to look at all the cards that are in front of them and then still play their best hand and say, this is the hand that I have at this particular moment at this, this game, but I'm going to be playing a series of multiple games, like
Yeah.
you can call, like you have your championship and all that shit, but it's like today on, Sunday, September, what's today? The 25th, I think it is. 25th,
I think so, yeah.
right? There's a series of games I'm playing throughout the day. Right. And that's just one series, but then there's 7 throughout this week. There's, 365 throughout this year.
Yeah.
There's X amount for however many years that I'm alive. And it's like, okay, like if today goes south and maybe the next 13 days go south, right?
Which it will not, by the way. 'Cause
which
it's been great so far.
Well, exactly, right? Well,
It's
thank
been
you.
great
So it's like you have that and it's like, okay, at some point it's going to kind of turn around, just
Yeah.
mathematically speaking.
Yeah, you just
I'm going to get a
persist.
better hand.
Yeah.
So the thought and the recognition of someone's ability to be persistent and to have tenacity is really great because it's like, okay, cool. Like if other people are doing that, then those are people leading by example. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
sure.
So I'm glad that you do that. That's very cool.
It took me a while to get here. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, as it does
But
with
as
anybody,
it does
for
for
sure.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, like I'm happy to be here now, and I'm very proud of this record.
I'm glad you are.
Tremendously proud of this record.
I'm fucking excited to hear it, man. And
Dude,
I'm
thank
excited
you,
to
man.
share the stage with you too.
Dude,
It's gonna
I'm
be
so
so
excited
rad.
about that, man.
It's gonna be so good. You know what? Honestly, we should just like. Actually, no. This is such a.
No, you've already said it. Go.
I know. But I was
You
like,
already said
this is the
You've already started,
ADHD
man.
brain. That's like, this is a great idea. Say it, but I haven't thought it through.
It's okay, we'll think of it right now.
Without sounding like the most fucking self-loathed individual in the world at this moment. But I was like, we should just play this podcast like in between sets and shit. And I was like, no, that's such a bad idea.
It's
But again, it's
interesting.
80. Yeah, interesting.
Interesting, yeah. It's interesting, yeah. You know it is.
That
Well,
would be
dude,
terrible.
a long time coming, to go back to what we were talking about,
Yeah.
is such a quintessential song for that feeling we were just describing. of,
Right,
like,
right.
That longingness of acceptance of what it is.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
knowing that, like, it takes time to get better.
Yeah,
And it's not going to happen right away, but you don't have to settle,
absolutely.
right? So the first single, a long time coming, that came out is, like, probably the happiest on the record, I'd say.
Mm.
Next to another song called Wishful Feeling. But yeah, a long time coming is just basically like kind of dealing with a lot of shit,
Right.
but knowing that it's your time coming,
Yeah,
and it will pay off and you'll get there.
Yeah,
you'll
and it's
feel
for
the
you.
happiness that you deserve to feel.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I love hearing that too, and I know I keep saying that, but I mean it truly. Like I'm like a sucker for triumphant stories. I'm not like someone's like when I say that somebody goes, "Oh, you just love the underdog." I'm like, no, because sometimes underdogs are just annoying. They're just like, everything's hard. It's like, yeah, that's what everybody else, but what are you doing to fix that? Or at least like. Again, it goes like someone says fix something, they immediately think 100% completion. It's like sometimes just finding a solution to get there is just like assess.
Exactly.
Or just do that. It's like some
Yeah.
people will spend 6 months just assessing where they're at. It's like that's cool, man. Everybody
That's
works
fine.
at their own pace, but you
Yeah.
have to be doing something.
Well, I view
if
it
you
as like
really
a
want it.
staircase, Like I view it as like
Yeah.
a staircase to like where you want to be,
Right.
and where you are now.
Exactly.
It's like create each step for yourself along the staircase,
Mm.
and then
It's interesting
work.
you see it as a staircase. I see it as a ladder.
Either or,
Yeah.
they both
'Cause,
get you to
like,
a place.
Yeah, the thing for me is I see it as a ladder because
You
it's
could say
like
escalator. You could say
yeah, the escalator.
a flying dragon. I don't know. Whatever.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Literally, like whatever vehicle you want to use to get
Yeah.
to that point.
Because I see it like I feel like it's easier to fall off like a ladder than stairs, but I guess it's kind of the same. I don't know. I've always viewed it as a ladder because it's like if I'm making all this progression to improve whatever it is in my life, it's like I have to make sure that this level of effort for that improvement is still attainable, which isn't something that again it's going to come right away.
Right.
But it's like like some people have a bad habit of, like one of the habits I'm trying to crack is eating late at night, because all that does is just slow down the,
I'm so guilty.
physical like form I'm trying to reach,
Sure.
So it's like, okay, I got to make sure that that's attainable before I get onto anything else.
Sure.
It's like if I stop giving a shit about this small task, then the speed to get where I want slows down dramatically, or it actually starts to go in the negative. It starts to go down.
Right.
So it's like the ability to just like just one thing at a time, but do it every time. It's not like I've heard stories of people that are like, I'm improved. Like, again, to continue on the metaphor of like the gym or whatever, it's like I'm going to start going to the gym just by putting my shoes on. Like, if I can just put my gym shoes on, I'm like, okay, I've done that. Like, that's cool. And then I'm just going to take them off, and then I'm not going to go to the gym today, but I've put them on. And then tomorrow I'm going to put them on. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to drive there. And then you drive there, and you're like, I'm kind of already here, and you spend 5 minutes.
You might as well go do it.
Yeah, you may as well go do it. And then you just like, whatever your increment in addition is, you just match that increment every time,
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
So it's very much just like moving forward kind of thing, And I feel like songwriting can be that at times too,
absolutely, man.
Because like you were saying, like the first tune that you wrote, Sora, was like awful,
In my standards.
and your standards, right? But it's like, I'm sure now with the songs that you have, you're like, you're super proud.
These are the best songs I've ever written.
Exactly. And the great thing about it is, it's like, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to see like Taylor Simpson in like 2035.
I can wait.
Yeah.
I can wait for that.
I'm excited because
I put out 2 records this year already. Like, I'm good. I'm tapped out creatively for a minute.
That's good though. Like, it's good to get it out. Like, to while
I just want
it's
to play
there.
shows now.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
The creativity I want in my life. Is playing
for
shows.
sure.
But
I
yeah,
just,
the songwriting thing, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
like, it's such a building block.
I look at bands like I'm a big fan of U2, and I use them a lot as like examples and stuff. But it's like, I'm sure when they made their first album, they're like, this is the best music we ever made, because they only knew, like
That
the shit that
time.
they made. But there's like the stuff in their garage and then the studio stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, the studio stuff back in 1987 or 88, whatever it was the best we've ever made.
Right.
But then talk to them now in 2020 after 40-year career, and then ask them that question where they have like
what's the best
300
now?
songs.
Yeah.
So it's like every time I talk to a songwriter, I'm like, I can't wait to see that. Like, I can't wait to see, when you're Johnny Cash, and it's like, what are my best songs? It's like, I don't fucking know. There's so many.
Yeah, there's
you know
so
what I
many
mean?
of them.
And it's
Yeah,
like being able to have that scope of like.
Do you have a
so
favorite
much more.
song of yours right now?
That's
Speaking of that, yeah, I'm gonna flip the script on you.
Damn, the podcaster. he just dupa-leaped me with the 180.
Oh, Dula Peep.
Dula Peep, that's what it is.
Dula Peep.
Oh man, a favorite song.
Yeah, like what's one of the songs right now that you in your catalog that you just get giddy about?
Honestly,
Leo's got the answer
well,
for it.
I really like.
Could be unreleased too.
Yes, there are some songs. There is a thing I can't say yet that's coming.
Ooh, confidential.
There is a new song coming out October 20th, the end of an era, which I do love.
Pre-save.
Yes, pre-save that motherfucking shit,
Yeah,
please, for the
boy.
love of God. Like, do it now. Open up a new tab and do that
And
shit
then while
now.
you're in that tab, open up another tab and pre-save my new song.
Yes, exactly. Your
October
job today
14th.
is just to fucking pre-save as much as you can.
Yes, thank you guys.
But I think the French Connection, because the French Connection is a song that I was so like.
Is that a Freddie song?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not even a song. It's like it's an interlude between two bodies of work. It's not even within. It's just like there's Crimson. There's another thing which is all blue, but the French Connection is like half red, half blue.
Okay.
Hence the French Connection and shit.
Got it.
And my buddies and I were hanging out, and we were doing our thing. We were, in the sky, and I showed them the French Connection. And originally, it was my voice on top of it, and it was really just me. Like, I had Crimson, and I wasn't 100% on it still, and I was like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, even though I've released songs, I'm not going to do it unless it feels right.
Sure.
Because like every time releasing a song or an album kind of feels like what I think skydiving feels like. It's like, are you sure you're going to do this?
Take the leap.
Like, you take the leap, because it's in music you're kind of going up, but like in the Skyfall, you're like you're jumping down, right? But it's like that pressure, that wind,
Of course.
feeling.
Yeah, I mean, once you get out of the plane, there's no going back in the
There's
plane.
no going back in the fucking plane. You're not going to be like, actually,
Actually, you know what?
rewind. Yeah, just like suit me back. Like, no thanks, And so I had like this synth pad thing, and I was just like, I was like, maybe the record doesn't have enough synths. It's like that's why. That's why it doesn't feel right. It needs something with more synths.
You pulled a Weekend from the new album.
Yeah, exactly.
More synths.
More synths. And the only time I'd really used synth on it was for a tune called Serenity with the chords, and then like this really like dirty synth for Just a Stranger and I Think She Thinks. And I was like, I don't have anything that's like luscious. I was like, I need to balance out the record with like red and lusciousness, Because I always imagine like it's all color coordinated. It's all like the synesthesia shit,
cool.
So it's like I have all this anger. I have this like passionate red, like when you go to like a French restaurant and it's got like red in it, or a Spanish restaurant has red.
Sure, yeah,
it's very romantic in that way, but it's like that, but coming from like a nostalgic, sadder place. I was like, I need something that's a little bit more happy, so I made this synth pad using Arcade by Output, which is just all like MIDI library stuff.
Okay.
I started at like 2:00 in the morning. I ended up at like 5 or 6 or something like that. It was super early. And I made this whole synth thing. I was finding all these different versions. And then in that night, I just completed it. I just made the song.
Hell yeah.
And I'm sitting there listening back, and I'm like, this is cool. And then I just like, started recording.
Yeah.
And I was just literally talking to like future Ian. And I was like, after I made that, I was like, oh no, I don't not like the record. I just needed to get this out.
You just needed to get that part.
So then I'm like talking to future Ian, who's like basically saying, once you've released Crimson, come back and listen to this, and you're gonna find relief in the way that we feel right now, but in the future you're gonna find relief,
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I listened the day after, and I was like, oh, I just needed to like flush that out. But this is actually a really cool idea to talk about the album ending and all that story coming to a close and all the new things you're gonna hear on the next body of work. And I was like, oh, damn. So then I started writing a script. I re-recorded my voice over that script. Loved the script, but I didn't like my voice on it. So I hired a wonderful person named Rosie Wise, who's the feature on that song. She does a British accent on that tune.
In it?
And yeah, in it, Tuesday, And I showed my buddies this. Sorry?
Bangers and mash.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking some tea. So I showed my buddies that, and like they heard it after wearing my headphones and stuff, and like immediately gave me a hug after listening to it.
Oh,
and I was like,
man.
this is my favorite song.
Yeah.
Because it's like unreleased. It's not like touched up by studio anything. It's just like they really connected with like it in its almost rawest form, and there was an immediate embrace, which I haven't had with any other song.
Yeah.
Like like we released, like when Almond Blossom came out, everyone was like, oh, this is such a great song, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I fucking love you guys,
Of course.
It's just that particular tune. It was like, it's like if I gave you if I was a chef and all I did was just give you like a uncooked or like a unseasoned but cooked potato. And you're like, this is the best potato I've ever had in my fucking life.
Man.
It's so like, it hasn't been dressed up in any way.
Right.
It's just like, its purest form is just like, I love this.
But then you dress it up.
And you dress it up. And I think to answer your question on this long tangent,
I love it.
I thank you. I think that I think the French Connection is my favorite. There's a lot of other songs that I really do love.
Of course, they're all like your children, obviously. So
yeah,
it's like picking favorites. But
I have 11 kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I made them all. So
that's a lot of kids.
Yeah, it's a lot of kids.
But that's cool, man. I'm glad that you like have a song that, especially the embrace part, that's so important.
I think that's the
impact,
the crux. Because it's like when I finished every song, I was like, I'm really happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took it into studio, and then it got dressed up, and it like mixed well. And shout out to my producer Mike DeRolfi, who is a wizard. Like, he is one of the most critical variables with Freddie, absolutely, without a doubt.
I'm sure, yeah.
And like teaching me so much, like, and it's really to make his life easier because I'm not good at recording music at all. Like, people are like, "Hey, can I record drums? Like, can you do my record in your room?" I'm like, "Let's demo it, but let's just take it to a studio." Because I don't do this well. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm so fortunate that he's been able to say, like, set up set up your gear this way, set up your drum mics this way. Like I can tune a drum set, to save my life for sure. But everything else, he's just been really helpful on, and yeah, the Embrace thing, like it was like I had that, and that happened, and then I was like, that means this record is done because this idea is good, and that means it's like it strengthened me to do the next thing.
Yeah.
Like you remember watching Pokemon?
Yes.
Where like a stage 1 Pokemon like has a battle where they like almost lose, but then they come out in the end.
Yeah.
And then they turn into like stage 2.
Like,
They're like, you needed to go through some shit that like almost killed you in a way for that character, for that Pokemon,
yeah.
for it to make them stronger.
Exactly.
It's like that Embrace was that. It's
It,
like I
like-
needed to go through this thing of like someone showing me their emotions in real time
Yeah.
for me to be like,
For you to go Super Saiyan.
yeah, or like just mid Saiyan. You know what I mean? Like
Just-
stage 2.
Just,
Like,
just saying.
just saying. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it was cool. It was very cool. I was like, okay, this record
That's
is
awesome,
good.
man. What a
Thank
good
you.
story.
I'm
Sorry.
they're my best friends, Adriano and Daniel Bale.
You have a best friend named Adriano too?
Yes. Yeah. So do you. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I would say I don't
Another
mean
thing
to,
on the list.
Yeah, I literally just like,
Goalies.
goalies.
Cabral,
Yeah,
Adriano.
Cabral, songwriting, Adriano's.
Hey, man.
So, but
That's
yeah,
cool,
man,
dude.
I appreciate it. And, it's been interesting. It's also been,
The French Connection. I want to hear the song now.
yeah,
I want to
totally,
give you an embrace.
dude. We will embrace. Our thumbnail will be an embrace.
An embracement.
An embrace. That'd be so good. But yeah, man, it's weird. I don't know. It's like because you were songwriting first, I was doing drums first. So to always release a song, there's always that moment of like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It's like you're playing goalie for so long, and then someone's like, you're the starting center. It's
you're
like,
like,
what?
I don't know how to do that.
My skates are flat, dude.
Bro, I can't do that, bro.
Yeah, I don't do
I
that
can't
at all.
skate for shit. I'm a goalie.
Yeah, it's like I only skate backwards, man. Like, I can be defensive, maybe I can back check.
maybe
Otherwise, like
defense at most. Yeah.
yeah, at most. But like, do you ever get a nervousness when you're releasing? Like, there's like 6 hours till the song comes out. Do you ever get like this like a feeling of like impending doom?
Not in the way that you think. My impending doom is that no one's going to hear it.
True.
That stresses me out more than the actual song itself.
True.
Because
Yeah.
I get to a place where I'm confident enough, like you said, like you have that moment or whatever it is. Like, for instance, like to answer the question back to me that I asked you,
Right.
like the song for me right now that I'm most proud of is a song called "Bitter Apology,"
Right.
and it's gonna be on the new record.
Nice.
And I just feel really, really strongly about it. It's not even a single either.
Really?
It's just
Is it not a single? Like, why isn't it a single? You don't know?
just worked out that way.
Just like
I
keep
don't
it
know,
keep
like,
it for like the body of work, like keep
I
it
think
for the album.
I think it's for the body of work.
Yeah.
And I think I needed other songs that had a different kind of flavor to be singles to
Right.
like showcase the album better.
Yeah.
And this kind of sounds similar to another song, so it was between this one and another one. I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
And the other one has a feature on it, so I'm like, that always helps as a single,
For sure.
So yeah, so this ended up not being a single, but like in my mind, they're all singles.
Yeah.
It's a 6-song record, so like, and
Right.
I pour my heart into all of these, so they're all
Yeah.
singles in my mind.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this song really came together, and there was a similar moment that you had with the Embrace
Mm.
when we were in the studio, like finishing up this song. It all came together at the end. We were like adding final touches of like synth or whatever, and like just kind of
Nice.
doing
It's all about the synths, baby. That's what I'm saying.
So like final mixing and stuff, and then like we had these like ideas pop in our mind of like how it should be structured and mixed and stuff like that. And then we just kind of both sat back, Adriano and I,
Yeah.
kind of both sat back and like listened to it after we put all of everything in it, And we both kind of like stood up and like looked at each other. We're like, "Fuck, like this is good."
Nice.
And like
Those are great moments.
that was kind of the moment for us. And
Yeah.
we both kind of like hugged it out. And we're like, "Man, this is gonna be a great album." And we're like, "I know it's gonna be so good."
I'm excited to hear it, man. I'm really pumped to hear it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, but sorry, what was the question before that one?
What was the question before that one?
Because I wanted to touch on it because I had a good answer, but I wanted to sidetrack about like the
my brain. Because we said the full album,
that I'm
and I
proud
was
of.
like, oh man, I can't wait to hear this live too. And then I forgot what I asked you because I'm now thinking about how it's gonna watching it happen in real time live.
yeah.
Are you gonna play the whole album live?
I'm playing the whole thing.
Yes.
I have
That's
to.
dope.
I have
Yes.
to, yeah. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck, I really want to figure out what the question was.
Do you remember? Fuck.
Shit. That's
Damn
okay.
it. Sorry?
Leo, you're the producer right now, man.
Come on.
No, it's okay. If it comes back, comes back. But I
Yeah.
think it was something. Yeah, because I want to touch on like the song that I'm proud of, and that was supposed to bleed into something you just asked me. Nervous about the stuff.
Oh yeah, the impending doom.
Impending doom. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, so I like this record in particular. Like I worked so long and hard on that I'm confident with the songs now at this point. Like I know that
Right.
they're as good as we can get them, and I don't regret anything.
Absolutely.
So it's not so much like me worrying about how they're gonna be perceived, because like that's out of my control. Like if people love it, that's great. If people don't like it, that's fine.
Right.
It's more so like getting it to the people that I'm more nervous about.
For sure.
And like
for
the
sure.
back end work, because you know how this fucking industry works, man.
Dude.
Like for any listeners that you have or viewers that like maybe don't know the inside of the music industry, like it's like 10% creating the music and like 80% fucking marketing.
Yeah, and then an additional 10% just luck. Like just trying
literally
to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
so
it's
so much back end stuff of like
it's true. Like that's the thing I've said before. Like I was having this conversation with Wolf, who's a John Lucas Cervello / Wolf. He's an artist, like solo musician. I play music. He's the guitarist in Freddie, one of the guitarists in Freddie. Also
Yeah.
plays drums.
cool.
And we were talking about like spent so much time creating this body of work. Which I don't know. I like to see it like putting on like director, producer hat, whatever you want to call it, or director, actor kind of hat. Like you have to, when you're writing the record, you should, in my opinion, put in as much like creative and emotional juice as you can to fuel that. And then once it's done, you have to literally almost like completely cut the cord and
You're
detach from that. And you immediately go into like business mode, like advertiser or marketer mode. And it's like there's a lot of struggle like creatively, emotionally, mentally when you're writing. Like you're just like you're trying to just I see it a lot like no man's land. Like I don't know what it is, but every time I get into songwriting, which has been like 2 full years now, like 2 separate years, I see it kind of like no man's land, like World War II no man's land. It's just like this open field with like fog.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to like uproot the ground and rebuild it so I know what it is and clear the fog. I'm trying to like recreate land.
Sure.
So like every time I'm writing, it's like nothing exists here. There's nothing I can do until I start like putting stuff down. And it's like you're trying to work it again. You're like, okay, nothing's growing. Like, why is it not working? Like, I gotta find like that the energy for it to go through the photosynthesis. You know what I mean?
Come on,
Just
son.
fucking give me some sun. You know. And it's like when you finally get that right, like you've seen The Martian.
Yeah.
You know when he gets that little beat of like the
Little
plant
bud.
and how excited he is.
Like, yeah.
He's like, I fucking leaf, you know, and it's like
go.
it's the same thing for me. I would imagine for me, but any songwriter where it's like I have a part that I actually like in a tune. It's like progress. Like this is give me more of
It's
this. Like,
budding.
you know, like keep me in this line.
Yes.
And then you get that reward, and you're like, and this is why the last 8 days of bullshit is why I do that, because now today on the 9th day I have some shit that slaps.
paid off.
You know,
Yeah.
With the marketing shit, which I do, it's like, damn, sometimes, man, it's like, fuck, I don't want to do this.
It's a lot, dude.
It's a lot, and there's almost more work there. Are we good? Dope. Always got to make sure. because
Yeah,
this
I know the
fucking
camera to cut.
technology, you know. But yeah, you know, the one thing I think the best thing to close with this podcast here, this is something I wanted to ask before. Let's say you have like your first album, your second album, and you kind of don't write for some time, right? And someone comes up to you and says, hey, like I almost need you to write another album. And like, would you do it? Like if you haven't been writing and you're like, I don't feel the need to write, like I feel like I've said a lot, I can take a break. But if somebody came up to you and said, I need to hear more music from you, would you write it?
Would I write it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no way I'm not going to write music.
Absolutely. See, I see it the same way, because I've seen this, like I've seen interviews with this question asked before, and then they're like, no, it's entirely for me. And the reason why I ask this is because, and this is the point that I want to close with, is that
Sure.
when you write your music, as we talked about, like you're writing about personal experiences, so there's
Yes.
for sure a sense of like therapy with it, very much like
Yeah.
finding closure and figuring it out. Are you also thinking about like, I got to write this in a way where someone can connect to it, so that it's not exclusively for me. It's like shared, like if you get where I'm coming from, then you can really resonate with this music, you know?
Right.
Do you write it like that sense?
I don't. It's a good question, man. I've had this like internal debate before about like how to approach the writing process in terms of that, because I write about such heavy stuff, right?
Right.
Like, do I make it more literal for me?
Yeah.
Like, so that narrows down the vision of other people relating,
Right.
or do I write in a way that's a bit more vague so that people can at least understand?
Yeah.
I think it's just like a juggling act, and it goes from song to song. Honestly, if the song serves it and it needs it to be more open like that,
Right.
then I'll do it. Right? If
Yeah.
it makes more sense to me to have it that way.
Absolutely.
But if it's like a super personal subject matter that I have to get off my chest and write about, and I feel good enough to release it,
right.
that I'm not thinking about that. I'm just gonna write it the way I write it. It's never really something that I've set out to do. I think
Right.
more so it's just kind of like a happy accident or like a side effect of writing the way that I write.
Right.
If people relate to it or not, kind of thing. I think that's kind of where that sits for me.
Yeah, because I'm always curious about it, because I sit in the same world. Like the tune Almond Blossom was a song that was like, I couldn't think of it in any other way, as like that's as literal as it was gonna get, which wasn't too literal, like it was just kind of just how the song came out. And then I remember having a phone call with the guitarist that plays for Freddie, Matthew Cater, and he was telling me about how he heard the tune, et cetera, et cetera. Something was happening, something was about to happen with the relationship that he's in, and then it didn't happen. And then now this whole song immediately had this whole new, not just sense of meaning, but like I guess sort of sense of meaning. Like it had this whole new perspective on it. Like he redefined the song,
Right.
And it was just right there between like not being too vague and not being too literal. It was like
Right.
center left on the vagueness.
Sure.
So enough for him to just be like, oh, I can implement all this stuff, but it's still pretty close to the literal
To the
world,
literal sense,
where it's
yeah.
like it still has a lot of that resonance. And
Right.
it's funny because every time I'm about to interview somebody or have a conversation with them, I'm always like trying to think about where they're coming from, And I've never really been able to have a conversation about songwriting to that extent before, So even in real time, I'm already thinking about the conversation that we just had. Like,
Yeah.
there's all these like archetype questions that I've thought about that have never been answered. Now to hear your perspective and opinion on it, it's like, I can like feel my brain literally remodeling, like the approach. Like I got an internal Jarvis, and he's just
Well, yeah,
fucking
like I don't
moving
think
shit.
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to go about it. Like I think songwriting is such a subjective thing
Yeah,
that anybody can take anything they want out of it, right?
yeah,
So I don't think there is any right or wrong way of doing it. It's just whatever feels comfortable to you and whatever makes sense to you. That's
Yeah.
kind of why I'm on the fence about writing it specifically to relate to other people,
right.
because that might feel forced,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? It might
That's
not
true.
It might not feel genuine enough.
Yeah,
But there's also the other side of the coin where it's like if you write too specific, then people aren't going to get it.
they can't. Yeah, because they're not you. They're
Right,
just gonna kind of be
they're
too
not living
outside.
in your shoes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're only to get so much of it.
Mm.
So it's like it's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
wherever you look at it. But like the way I approach writing is just like I just write fluidly, and whatever kind of comes out of me comes out of me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if that turns out being more vague, great.
Yeah,
If it turns out being more specific,
cool.
that's fine too.
Yeah,
It's not really up to me to determine how others are going to view it, right?
yeah, for sure,
It's
for sure.
just art is art, and if I feel good enough to release it, I release it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if they relate to it, then that's just a bonus cherry on top, you know?
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on this show for real.
Dude, thank you
Like,
so much for having me, man. This
It's
has
been a
really
fantastic,
fun.
yeah,
I
it's
wanna
been a
keep going,
fantastic
honestly. I don't
conversation.
want to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that. You know what?
I know we've
I
rolled
would-
for a while, but like,
I would
goddamn.
love to come on your show.
Yeah,
and
man.
we'll have another back and forth between podcaster and podcaster,
I love it.
But for all the viewers listening, thank you guys. Go check out Taylor Simpson on Spotify, on all the audio media platforms, your Instagram and TikTok ad, if you want to tell everybody.
Sure, man. It's at Taylor Simpson Music on pretty much everything. Instagram,
Perfect.
TikTok, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Facebook.
Go listen to A Long Time Coming. Go
Yeah,
pre-save the
check
new
it out.
single.
The new single's called Holding On, by the way.
Holding On.
Yeah.
And then, what's the date for the show? Because I can't remember.
November 25th.
November 25th.
Friday, November 25th.
Yes.
We're playing
come
at the
to
Cameron
show,
House.
The Cameron House. Absolutely.
It's going to be fucking sick.
I'm going to have a lot of promo for that, too. Make
I'm
sure
so
everybody
excited
comes
for
out to
that
that
show,
show. It's
man.
going to be sick. So,
There's going to be lighting gear. I'm buying lighting gear for
Oh,
the
damn,
show.
really?
Like, I might get a banner. We'll see. I don't know. I might go crazy on this one. I don't know.
Dope.
I might go stupid.
dude, as always, man, let me know if you need a hand with anything, dude.
Thank
let
you,
me know.
man, I
Absolutely.
will.
Thank you again for coming on the
Thank
show.
you viewers for watching and
Yes.
listening if you're watching.
Thank
listening.
y'all.
I
Y'all are the
appreciate you
best.
guys. And,
Loyal.
dude, Ian, Leo, you guys are awesome.
Thank you, man. I
You
appreciate
guys
that.
doing this sick ass podcast and supporting local artists is really cool,
Totally.
man.
Likewise,
and giving
man.
us a platform to sit here and talk about this kind of stuff.
Thank
And
you.
It was actually a genuinely sick conversation.
Thanks.
So
That means a lot,
thank you
man.
for that,
Thank
man.
you, dude.
It means a lot, dude.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to do it again, man.
And now we're best friends, right? That's how.
Yeah,
this
we're
works.
best friends. Exactly
okay,
how this
that's-
works. Yeah, absolutely, man.
And now we're best.
And when you come
with
with the Flat Five, you get a coaster and you're best friends.
I love
That's how it
it.
works. Alrighty, well, y'all. Cheers. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Take care.